Guys, our friends at DraftKings recently launched the DraftKings Marketplace, allowing new and existing customers the opportunity to buy and sell exclusive NFTs from icons in sport and entertainment. DraftKings teamed up with Autograph, who has partnered with some of the world's biggest athletes like Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Derek Jeter, Tony Hawk, Simone Biles, Usain Bolt, and more to provide exclusive digital collectibles. It's super easy to get started. Even if you're new to NFTs, head over to dkng.co/Sonnen to set up an account. With DraftKings' trusted platform, you know your account is safe and secure. DraftKings drops exclusive NFTs regularly at scheduled dates and times. Click on the drops page to see the active and scheduled drops. Before a scheduled NFT drop time, be sure to join the drop to secure your spot in line. You'll be added to the waiting room and given a random order in the queue at the time of the drop. NFTs are the future, so go sign up today at dkng.co/Sonnen or just click on the link below. Francis Ngannou in boxing, what does that look like? What does that mean? I think maybe I'm not being creative enough. When I hear that, I think of one thing, Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. Why do I think of that? Because Tyson Fury is the only guy in boxing that matters. He's one of 3 heavyweight names that I know. Tyson Fury has shown an interest in doing this. He has specifically spoke of Francis Ngannou before. Tyson Fury was catching workouts with Darren Till. Tyson Fury was talking for a very brief period of time that he was going to leave boxing and come over into MMA. One thing the boxers never agreed to do, which is to leave their rules. They always make you leave theirs, but Tyson was different, which is one of the reasons so many MMA fans like him. Not only did he go in and do some of the hard work, even if it's in a training room, he actually did it, but he was also not trying to lure somebody into what he's good at. He was saying, I'll come over and do what you're good at. Let me practice a little bit. I mean, there was things about Tyson Fury where we just liked him. We as the MMA community, we just liked him. We accepted what he was saying. So maybe I'm being lazy. Maybe my eyes are a little bit closed here. Maybe there's a bigger fight out there. I'm definitely open to hearing about it. But when I do hear about Francis Ngannou going into boxing, that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing a one-off. I'm picturing a Conor versus Floyd. It's a one-time deal. This is a cash grab. We can bring in attraction. Somebody's willing to put up a bunch of money. I mean, that's what I hear. Am I missing something? Does that work? Does that work with you guys? And I'm like an accountant. I'm only as good as the information that I'm given. But I read what your guys' comments are. And we talk about Francis a lot over here. And there's often comments, and I generally hear, more than anything else I hear, that it wouldn't matter for Francis. It's not his sport anyway. It's a win-win. It's a no-lose situation. Do you subscribe to that? Because if the answer is yes, and that is what you subscribe to, take a step to the side. You no longer have an opinion in this. If you're on the side of it doesn't matter and nothing is at risk and it's a win-win situation, then what you're saying is there's nothing to gain for Tyson Fury. There's nothing on the line here. We're going out and having fun. There's plenty of things that you would do in life to have fun, but sitting down and buying a pay-per-view is not one of them. That's a result that maybe you hear after the fact. It's a result where if your buddies are talking about, maybe you weigh in and go, hey, by the way, who won that match? It's not one that you actually care about. To have anybody care and to generate any level of interest, something has to be on the line, period. There is no exception to this. So if you're in what I see to be the masses, which is it's a win-win or it's a no-lose, you're now out of the conversation because you're not going to buy it anyway. And you never have, even if you want to win this argument, oh, Chael, yes, I would. No, you would not. Don't lie to me. You've never bought a fight before in history where the outcome didn't matter. Never. There's a reason they raise somebody's hand. There's a reason when there was exhibitions done, by example, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. in the state of California, where there could not be a winner, the production team, even though the commission didn't recognize it, made sure before they faded to black and rolled the credits, they raised somebody's hand after reading some kind of an announcement. You have to do that. It's called a conclusion. You have to do that. And I will tell you, I've been putting on grappling events through Submission Underground. And we had different recipes. And they didn't always work the way we thought they were going to. There was a period of time where we would take a very well-known MMA guy and put him against a very well-known grappler. And we thought that was going to work. And it did just fine, but it did not do what you would think that it would do. For the very reason that we're discussing here, nobody was risking anything. The MMA guy loses, and he goes, well, I'm not a grappler anyway. The grappler wins, but he doesn't get any credit because he beat an MMA guy who doesn't do it anyway. It just didn't work the same. Now, we did succeed with bringing in names that you would know from MMA and having them grapple. Well, we just took two MMA guys and changed the rules and had them go out and grapple. I think that that would work in the boxing world. I think if I was going to tell you that Nate Diaz is going to go out and box George Masvidal, I think that you're in more than you would be if I told you that Nate Diaz is going to go out and box Jake Paul. I think. Because there's something on the line. There's something to risk. It's two guys. Everything's even, mano a mano. We have a disagreement. We've agreed on the rules. This is the people's court, right? The decision will be settled here. It's one of those things that story never quits working. So what does it look like if Francis goes over and he boxes Tyson Fury? What is that about? We know what it really is. We know that it's a cash grab, but it will be upon the participants and their promoter who's getting ready to lose a ton of money. But that's what has kept boxing afloat for years, is you get somebody that thinks it's cool, wants to have his name attached to it somewhere, and is willing to lose a lot of money. That is the single only thing that has kept boxing's head above water. So let's say you go out and you find those kind of people. Okay, great. You can have the event. But if it's going to be sustainable, it can't just be somebody's getting their ass kicked until we find the next sucker. There has to be something there that carries on. There has to be a story. The winner of this fight, what do they get? Where does it move them? Is this the number one contenders fight? Is Anthony Joshua sitting over here in the wings and the winner of this fight draws into Joshua? There has to be something up. It cannot be a one-off. One-offs have never worked. I loved the whole Conor Floyd thing. There has never been a story in sports history that I witnessed with my own eyes to be as misrepresented and mistold as that. I was there for it live. There was thousands of empty seats. You will not read that anywhere. Anybody that talks about that fight, it was an absolute sellout. It was a blockbuster success. It was a big hit. Both those guys wanted to do it again. And nobody wanted to make that fight again. They got their asses kicked on that fight. It was a colossal disaster. And if you go Google what I said right now, you will read that the arena was sold out. I was there live. And so were 9,000 other people in a 12,008 arena. You have 9,000 witnesses to tell you it did not sell out. And there's no bigger focal group that you could break down and identify for how this is going to do on pay-per-view than a live house. If the live house does not sell out, the pay-per-view records don't happen. It's never happened in history. With any sport, any event, any way that you want to do it. And I don't know why there was a lie, and I don't know why there was an embarrassment. I just know that there was a lie, and I do know it had to do with an embarrassment. And the mere fact that it was not remade when both guys wanted to redo it, not to mention it was a way better fight than anybody thought it was going to be. It was way more competitive than anybody thought it was going to be. There were so many ways that you could do that again if it had even scratched the surface of being a good night of business. It wasn't. And I'm only offering you that, one, to tell you something that the headlines won't, but two, it didn't work. So when I tell you these crossover matches don't work, you don't have anyone in history that you could point to and say that it did. It worked out for Conor and it worked out for Floyd, and everybody else got their ass kicked. So finding those suckers that sponsor boxing to keep boxing where it is today, which is even happening, become harder and harder to find. And what if you did have that kind of agreement, right? What if you were Francis Ngannou and you had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? We don't want to take that from anybody. Come on, Francis has some real skills, and he worked his ass off to get them. If he wants to take a risk and go find a huge opportunity, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you got to support the guy. We have to support Francis in that. But if Francis is coming to the table and he thinks that he's got this one boxing match with Tyson Fury is going to pay $100 million, okay, great. We'll do what's called a carve-out. A carve-out basically means an exception, just to explain a contract to you. The official term is carve-out, but it means an exception. Here's the contract. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the exception, the carve-out that we're going to make. Let's put that in specifically. You cannot box anywhere. This is boilerplate. This is what I have with 556 other athletes. I'm going to give you a carve-out. If you get Tyson Fury and you get $100 million, off you go. Well, I don't know if it'll be $100 million. It might be 60. Okay, you know what? I'm going to put down 40. You told me 100. I'm going to drop what you said in half and take off another dime. You get $40 million and you get Tyson Fury, off you go, I'll let you go do it. And all of a sudden, that wouldn't be agreed upon either. That wouldn't be agreed upon because there is no said match. And whoever is getting a hold of Francis and making him believe that there is, first off, is breaking the law. You cannot interfere with a contractual agreement. So whoever has let him know, you can't, but these things happen, right? People speak, people get into I didn't know what your contract, these things happen. Francis would have a good idea, but whoever is telling him he's going to go box Tyson Fury and get a whole bunch of money is lying to him. It's not true. It could be true. There is a path to get to it, but you're going to have to show a level of sacrifice. If he went out and tried to make an Olympic team or win a national championship or enter a Golden Gloves within the amateur ranks within his country, or even if he just wanted to go right into the pros, but he started somewhere on some level of undercard, he showed that he had some kind of skills, we're having a totally different conversation. Make it believe that we can fool the audience into not accepting boxing as a true sport. One guy is boxing, he's doing it every day, twice a day, he's been doing it since he was 9 years old. The other guy looks like he's got pretty powerful hands. That doesn't work. That's not a story. If you were a huge, massive star within your own field, right? If you were selling pay-per-views in MMA, somebody will take that gamble on you that you could transfer. It's close enough. Bring in the right guy. Bring in the right story. Let's get the press conferences going. If you don't have a history of showing press conferences that you've lit on fire, all of a sudden that piece is gone. If you don't have pay-per-views within your own sport that are blockbuster events, I can't bring you into another one. It's the hardest thing in the world getting fans to follow you. It's one of the most impressive things for me that Jake Paul did. He built up a fan base, but then he got them to come from YouTube where he's doing silly little things and making faces over into the sweet science. It was incredible. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of thought. It took a lot of strategy. In all fairness, it took some luck. Not very many people can do that. And I can tell you plenty of people who have tried to do both. I can tell you athletes who tried to go into acting and bombed. I can tell you country music singers. One of the great troubadours, my favorite, George Strait, went over and did a movie called True Country. It was unwatchable. Roy Jones Jr., best boxer of all the 90s, tried to do rap. Nobody bought the CDs. Just one of these things. It's very hard to get people to come along that journey. But there are people that are new to the game that got some money in their pocket. They inherited it somewhere, usually, right? It's usually dumb money. But that think you can do it. But you're going to have to show them, look, I'm a mega star over here. I am the Conor McGregor over here. I am the biggest draw. I cannot go wrong. I can sell out arenas to watch me weigh in. I can pack a house to watch me do a press conference. I have a different commodity that I offer aside from the left and the right hand. Bring me with, I can do anything. I can play one-on-one basketball against Shaquille O'Neal right now. We'll sell out UNLV. Okay, great. Call up Shaq, get you, throw the ball up. Let's get a good old game of horse going, right? I mean, there's some things that you can do, but there's some things that you can't. I don't know who's telling him that he can. By the way, as I'm sitting here passing judgment, I don't know. I really don't know. There could be big fights that are somewhere within the world that we just don't feel here in North America. When I tell you that it's got to be Francis and it's got to be Fury, I don't actually know that. I'm very open to being wrong. But if there is a very specific plan that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we don't want to take that from somebody, but you're going to have to tell us what it is. And then we're going to do what's called a carve-out. Take the information that you're telling me. I'm going to put that down specifically. It's not going to just be a broad stroke. It's not going to be, let's just see what happens so that you're half in this sport and you're half in that sport. It's not going to be. You're going to have to pick. You're going to have to take some risk too. We're either doing this together or we aren't. So what does that look like? Very hard to imagine that Francis could just walk in and do well on day one with the best boxer in the world. It's very hard to imagine, but Francis has some skills that are very realistically helpful. Tyson Fury is going to move, he's going to bob, he's going to weave, he's going to come to the body. Francis Ngannou is going to destroy whatever he hits. I mean, there's a piece here where this works. And if you wanted to make it realistic and you wanted to make it a 4-round contest, something that a guy could actually walk in and do, that's the thing that bit Conor McGregor in the ass is they put him out there for 12 rounds against a guy who only goes 12 rounds. Conor's only gone 5 rounds. I mean, they stacked the deck against McGregor so incredibly, which is why I always make sure the story gets told so that Conor gets the credit that Conor deserves. But it's one of these things, and I'm just asking you, what does that look like? Francis within boxing, what does it look like? Am I going down the wrong trail? Do I not have the right opponent identified? Do I not have the fact that this is a cash grab identified? And I do want to hear from you. But if you're of the mind that it's a win-win or a no-lose, your opinion no longer matters because that formula has never and will never work.